The drone of the 9 to 5. The fluorescent hum that seeps into your bones. The endless cycle of tasks and deadlines. For many, the workplace is a realm of mundane routine. But what happens when that familiarity curdles? When the banal corridors and empty cubicles become hunting grounds for something far more sinister than office politics? Welcome back, seekers of the unsettling, to Nightmare True Horror. Tonight, we delve into the chilling reality of 7 true work horror stories. Tales where the glow of the monitor screen illuminates not just spreadsheets, but also the terrifying unknown, where the silence of the after-hours office breeds not peace, but a palpable dread. As these narratives unfold, what unsettling experiences have your workplaces whispered to you in the dead of night? What unease has festered beneath the veneer of professionalism? Share your own unsettling encounters in the comments below. Let the digital ether bear witness to your workplace anxieties. And if you dare to continue exploring these shadowed corners of existence with us, ensure you are subscribed. You wouldn't want to miss the disquieting truths we unearth from the everyday. Brace yourselves. The stories you are about to hear are not fiction. They are the chilling testimonies of those who found horror where they least expected it. And believe me, the final twists in these accounts will make you question every locked door and every late night at the office. The shift is about to begin. The office after 10 p.m. is a different animal. Fluorescent lights hum like tired wasps. Empty desks stare like headstones. I was supposed to be gone an hour ago, but the layoffs left me sorting through Marcus Keller's projects. Code fragments, half-built firewalls, a sticky note that just said, "They know," in shaky caps. Said he took his termination poorly. Understatement of the year. My coffee had gone cold when the motion alert popped up on the security monitor. Camera 3, main lobby. A figure in a navy pea coat shuffled past the turnstiles. Grainy footage, but I recognized the limp. Marcus favored his right leg after the car accident last winter. The accident that kept him off the essential personnel list. His old key card shouldn't have worked. It deactivated them all. The elevator stank of lemon disinfectant and burnt wiring. I pressed the lobby button. The doors jammed halfway, shuddering. Marcus' reflection flickered in the stainless steel. Pale beard overgrown, eyes bloodshot, even in the black and white feed. Eyes bloodshot, even in the black and white feed. His duffel bag bulged like a body. Floor numbers froze at 2. The lights died. My phone's glow caught the emergency hatch creaking open above me. Scrape. Something wet dripped onto my shoulder. I swiped at it. Black, oily, reeking of gasoline. Marcus' cubicle was a shrine to spite. Termination papers shredded into confetti. Family photos face down except one. His daughter's soccer team. His face ex acto knifed out. The desk drawer held 3 empty Adderall scripts and a USB drive labeled CC4 in marker. Security feeds showed him heading to the server room. Of course, Aurora Systems' entire AI infrastructure lived in there. 6 months of my life too. I called Paul, the night guard. Voicemail. "Hey, it's Danny from 6th floor. We've got a code 12. Call me back." The fire alarm started beeping. A shrill, irregular pulse. Someone had disabled the system. Server room B was colder than the rest. Frost feathered the vents. My breath hung in clouds. Marcus knelt by the mainframe, wires spilling from an open panel. His duffel bag gaped open. Wire cutters, a soldering iron, a red gas can. He muttered numbers, each one louder. Each one louder. 7. 7. Marcus, he turned. His pupils were pinpricks. "Danny, good. You're a witness." He held up a circuit board etched with Aurora lies. "They told you we were securing data, protecting privacy." His laugh became a cough. "We're the lockpick. Every backdoor we built. Banks, hospitals, elections. They sold it. Sold us." The gas can glugged as he doused the servers. Paul found us, or what was left of Paul. His keys jingled as he rounded the corner, flashlight bobbing. Marcus lunged, the soldering iron sparking. Poles screamed, short-circuited. When metal met throat, I ran. The sprinklers kicked on, spraying gasoline instead of water. "They say if you smell almonds during a fire, it's cyanide." The whole 6th floor reeked of it. Marcus had wired the gas lines to the HVAC. Aurora's final update, he'd cackled before striking the match. Fire exit doors jammed. Security shutters locked. My phone flashed no service as flames chewed through the hack-proof server walls. Marcus's final gift, a live stream. Thousands watched Aurora's systems burn. Watched me claw at the shutter joints, nails splitting. Comments rolled in. Fake. Comments rolled in. Fake. Gray SFX do a backflip. Firefighters cut through an hour later. Marcus' body melted into server rack 9. They never found Paul's head. HR offered paid leave. I took a permanent vacation. Last night, my doorbell cam alerted at 3 a.m. A figure in a soot-stained pea-coat limped past, dragging a gas can. The video corrupted after 3 seconds. This morning, every news site ran the same headline. Aurora leak exposes client list. Hospitals suffer data collapse. My inbox has 127 new emails. The latest, a Zoom invite from McKellar at aurorasystems.com. The thumbnail is a black screen. Seven. The fire crackled in the lodge stone hearth, casting jittery shadows on the pine walls. I shifted in my folding chair, the metal creaking under me, as our CEO, Martin, paced the room. His grin was too wide, his eyes too bright, like a preacher selling salvation. 20 of us, mid-level accountants and sales reps from a Syracuse insurance firm, sat in a circle, clutching notepads labeled Teams Inc. Retreat. No cell service, no Wi-Fi. Just a remote mountain lodge in the Adirondacks and Martin's promise of transformative bonding. I'd rather have been home with my dog and a beer. Trust is everything, Martin said, his voice smooth as oil. He stopped behind Sarah, our HR rep, and rested his hands on her shoulders. She flinched but didn't pull away. Tonight's exercise, vulnerability. Share your deepest fear. No holding back. A nervous laugh rippled through the group. I glanced at Jake, my cubicle neighbor, who was doodling explosions in his notepad. He caught my eye and mouthed, "This is nuts." I nodded, but my stomach churned. The lodge felt too quiet, the windows black with night. The wind howled outside, rattling the shutters like bones. Sarah went first, her voice shaky. "I'm scared of being alone forever." Martin's smile widened, and he squeezed her shoulders harder. "Good," he said. "Raw, honest." One by one, people shared. Fear of failure, of death, of losing their kids. Each confession made the air heavier, like we were sinking into something dark. When it was my turn, I mumbled, "Spiders," hoping to lighten the mood. Martin's eyes narrowed. "Dig deeper, Emily." His tone was sharp, like a blade slicing through my lie. I swallowed, my throat dry. "Fine. I'm scared of being trapped." His nod was slow, deliberate, and I swore the room grew colder. The next exercise was worse. Martin paired us for a trust fall in the lodge basement. The stairs creaked as we descended, the air damp and sour, like wet earth. Bare bulbs flickered, casting long shadows. Jake whispered, "This feels like a serial killer's lair." I forced a smile, but my pulse raced. The basement was a concrete maze, with locked doors and pipes dripping in the dark. My partner was Claire, a quiet claims adjuster who knitted during lunch breaks. She stood on a crate, arms crossed, while I waited to catch her. Martin watched, his clipboard tucked under his arm. "Fall, Claire," he said, his voice low. She hesitated, then tipped backward. I caught her, but her weight nearly knocked me over. Her breath hitched and she whispered, "I saw something move back there." I followed her gaze to a shadowed corner where the darkness seemed to pulse. A faint scrape echoed like nails on concrete. "Next pair," Martin barked, but his eyes lingered on Claire, cold and unblinking. My skin prickled. Something was wrong with him. His energy, his stare. He wasn't just intense, he was hungry. By midnight, the exercises escalated. Martin led us outside for a survival drill. The wind screamed through the pines, and the cold bit my face. We were split into teams, tasked with finding hidden flags in the woods. No flashlights, just moonlight and Martin's rules. Stay together. Don't wander. His security team, 3 men in black jackets, silent and hulking, stood at the lodge entrance watching. Jake, Claire, and I trudged through the forest, branches snagging our coats. The air smelled of pine and something sharp, like bleach. Claire's voice trembled. I heard Martin talking to security earlier. Something about culling the weak. Jake snorted, but his eyes darted to the trees. A twig snapped behind us, too heavy for a deer. I spun, heart pounding, but saw nothing, just shadows shifting in the wind. We found a flag, but as we turned back, Claire froze. My knitting needle's gone, she said, patting her pocket. It was in my coat. Jake frowned. You dropped it. She shook her head, her face pale. Someone took it. Back at the lodge, things unraveled. Zara tried to leave, citing a family emergency. Martin blocked the door, his smile gone. We're a team, Sarah. You stay. One of the security guys stepped forward, his hand on a baton. Sarah backed down, tears in her eyes. The room went silent, save for the fire's pop and the wind's wail. I pulled Jake aside in the hallway, my voice low. We need to get out. This isn't team building. He nodded, his jaw tight. I saw one of the security guys with a knife. Not a pocket knife, a hunting knife. My stomach dropped. We agreed to sneak out after lights out, but Claire overheard and insisted on coming. Her hands shook, but her eyes were fierce. I'm not staying here. At 2 a.m. we crept through the lodge, avoiding the creaky floorboards. The air was thick with that bleach smell, stronger now. We reached the back door, but it was padlocked. Jake cursed under his breath. A low hum started, like a machine waking up, coming from the basement. Claire grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. That's not HVAC, she whispered. We doubled back, aiming for the front, but froze at a sound. Footsteps, heavy and deliberate, coming from the stairwell. A shadow stretched across the wall, too tall, too thin. Martin's voice drifted up, soft and sing-song. Martin's voice drifted up, soft and sing-song. Trust is earned, not given. My blood ran cold. He wasn't alone. Someone whimpered, a muffled, panicked sound. We ducked into a closet, hearts hammering. Through the slats, I saw Martin pass, dragging a duffel bag. It sagged, heavy, and something wet glistened on the floor behind it. The bleach smell was overpowering now, mixed with something coppery. Claire's breath hitched, and I clamped a hand over her mouth, praying she'd stay quiet. When the hallway cleared, we bolted for the front door. It was unlocked, but one of the security guys stood outside, smoking. Jake grabbed a fire poker from the hearth, his knuckles white. We rushin'? He whispered. Before I could argue, Claire lunged, slamming the door open and tackling the guard. He grunted, dropping his cigarette, and Jake swung the poker, knocking him out. We ran into the woods, the cold searing my lungs. The lodge's lights faded behind us, but shouts echoed. Martin's voice, sharp with rage. Find them. Flashlights swept the trees, beams slicing the dark. My foot caught a root, and I fell, mud soaking my jeans. Claire pulled me up, her face ghostly in the moonlight. They're coming, she hissed. We hid behind a boulder, the forest alive with snaps and rustles. A security guy passed, his radio crackling. Check the ravine. They won't get far. My heart sank. They weren't just chasing us. They were hunting. Jake's eyes met mine, wide with fear. What the hell is this? He whispered. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The truth hit us at dawn, when we stumbled into a clearing. A pit, freshly dug, yawned in the earth. Shovels scattered nearby. Beside it, a pile of personal items. Sarah's scarf, Claire's knitting needle, my notepad. Martin's motive was clear now. Control, power, a twisted knee to break us and rebuild us in his image. The weak didn't leave. They disappeared. We flagged down a ranger, babbling about the lodge. By the time police arrived, it was empty. Martin, the security team, the duffel bag, gone. The pit was filled in. The items vanished. They found blood in the basement, but no bodies. Sarah and the others were listed as missing. Their car's still in the lot. I'm back in Syracuse now, but I don't sleep. Jake quit. Claire moved away. Every email from work makes my heart race, expecting Martin's name. Last week, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a TeamSync notepad, my name scrawled on it. The last page read, "Trust is forever." I burned it, but I still hear his voice in the wind, calling me back to the mountains. Nobody ever tells you how loud silence can be in an empty building at night. I had been working the night security desk at Whitmore Plaza for 3 weeks, and the silence still set me on edge. 5 months ago, I was directing traffic and breaking up bar fights in the heart of Philadelphia. Now I was staring at security monitors in a high-rise office building. My only company, the occasional clicking of the aging heating system and the hiss of my own breath. The job was simple. Monitor the feeds, log any activity, patrol each floor once per shift. The graveyard shift meant almost zero human interaction, perfect for someone like me. Someone trying to forget the things I'd seen in my last job. Things that had cost me my badge, my marriage, and most nights of peaceful sleep. Whitmore Plaza was 42 floors of glass and steel, with 3 basement levels housing maintenance, storage, and an old boiler room. During the day, it bustled with financial firms and tech startups. At night, it transformed into a cathedral of shadows, empty, except for the cleaning staff, and occasionally someone working late. I first noticed the anomaly during my second week. While reviewing the nightly logs, I spotted a pattern. Every night, precisely at 3:00 a.m., Elevator 2 descended to basement level 3. According to the digital keycard system, however, no one had swiped access to call the elevator at that time. When I mentioned it to Lisa, the day supervisor, she dismissed it as a system glitch. "Half the tech in this building predates the internet," she said with a shrug. "Those elevators are programmed to do self-diagnostics at odd hours. Nothing to worry about." Her explanation made sense, so I let it go. But 3 nights later, while scrolling through motion-activated camera feeds, I caught sight of the elevator's interior at 3:00 a.m. The grainy black and white footage showed Elevator 2 descending, as expected. But something about the image made my throat tighten. The elevator wasn't empty. The figure was barely visible. A darker patch of shadow in the corner of the elevator, like a smudge on the lens. But when I zoomed in and enhanced the contrast, I could make out what looked like a human silhouette, standing perfectly still in the rear corner. The image was too distorted to see any details, but one thing was clear. Someone was riding to the basement at 3:00 a.m. every night, without swiping a key card. I checked the logs again. No card swipes, no maintenance schedules, nothing. The next night, I watched the lobby cameras as 3:00 a.m. approached. The marble-floored atrium was empty and still. At exactly 3:00 a.m., Elevator 2's doors slid open, empty. Then closed again. The indicator above showed its descent to by 3. I switched to the elevator's internal camera, and there it was again. That same dark shape in the corner, like a hole cut out of reality. My skin prickled. I reached for the phone to call the building manager, then hesitated. What would I say? That I was seeing shadows? That I thought the elevator was haunted? I'd had enough psychiatric evaluations after the incident that cost me my police job. I didn't need my new colleagues thinking I was unstable. Instead, I made a decision. I would investigate myself. The next night, I positioned myself in the lobby at 2:55 a.m., standing directly in front of Elevator 2. My heart pounded as the digital clock on the wall ticked closer to 3:00 a.m. My palms were slick with sweat despite the building's aggressive air conditioning. At exactly 3:00 a.m., the elevator pinged. I stepped back, hand instinctively reaching for a gun I no longer carried. The doors slid open to reveal an empty car. I hesitated, then stepped inside, pressing the button for B3. The doors closed, and the elevator began its descent. The fluorescent light flickered once, twice. I felt a chill against the back of my neck, as if someone had exhaled softly onto my skin. The hair on my arms stood on end. I was alone in the elevator, and yet I had never felt less alone in my life. The descent seemed to take longer than it should have. When the doors finally opened on B3, I was greeted by darkness. The motion sensors should have triggered the hallway lights, but they remained dormant. I pulled out my flashlight and stepped into the corridor. B3 was essentially a maze of utility rooms, old filing storage, and forgotten equipment. The beam of my light caught dust particles floating in the stagnant air. The concrete floor was marked with strange stains that my mind couldn't help but compare to dried blood. My footsteps echoed unnaturally, each step seeming to return to my ears a half-second too late. I made my way down the corridor toward the main boiler room. A soft, rhythmic sound grew louder as I approached. A wet, mechanical thudding that didn't match any normal building operation I knew. The heavy metal door to the boiler room was slightly ajar, a sliver of warm yellow light spilling out. That's when I heard the humming, a tuneless melody that raised goosebumps on my skin. I edged closer to the door, my flashlight beam shaking visibly now. Hello. My voice sounded muffled, as if the air itself was absorbing the sound. Building security. Is someone there? The humming stopped. So did the thudding noise. The silence that followed was absolute. I pushed the door open slowly, wincing at the metallic groan of the hinges. The boiler room was cavernous, filled with massive, ancient equipment and a labyrinth of pipes. The light I'd seen came from a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling. In the center of the room, below it stood a makeshift living space. A stained mattress, a plastic milk crate serving as a table, food wrappers, and a stack of yellowing newspapers. Someone was living down here. I approached cautiously, scanning the shadows for movement. The mattress was still warm to the touch. Whoever had been here had left moments ago. I rifled through the newspapers, some dating back to the 1990s, all featuring similar stories. Missing persons, unsolved cases. Each had certain words circled in red. No suspects disappeared without a trace. Authorities baffled. An old shoebox sat beside the mattress. With gloved hands, I carefully lifted the lid and nearly dropped it in shock. Inside were dozens of keycards, driver's licenses, and personal items. Trophies. My blood ran cold as I recognized one of the IDs. Jacob Wheeler, a financial analyst, reported missing 3 months ago. His firm was on the 36th floor. The sound of the elevator humming to life in the distance jolted me back to reality. I needed to get out, to call the police. I replaced the box and backed away from the makeshift home, turning to hurry toward the exit. That's when I slammed into the chest of Ray, the night janitor. I stifled a shout, nearly dropping my flashlight. Jesus, Ray, you scared the hell out of me. Ray's weathered face showed no emotion. You shouldn't be down here, Mr. Landon. There's someone living down here, Ray. I need to call the police. They might be connected to those disappearances. I know, Ray said quietly. I've always known. Something in his tone made me take a step back. Ray had worked in the building for over 30 years. Had access to every floor. Had keys to every room. Ray, what do you mean you know? His eyes changed then, hardened into something inhuman. They needed a place to stay. I provided it. In return, they bring me things. Pretty things. Valuable things. His gaze drifted to the shoebox. Everyone else just walks past me, through me, like I am nothing, but not them. They see me. My mouth went dry. Who are they, Ray? The overhead light flickered, casting Ray's face in grotesque shadows. You'll meet them soon enough. It's why I made sure you got this job. They're selective about who they want, but they've been watching you. They like you. I backed away, fumbling for my radio, but Ray was faster than his age suggested. His hand closed around my wrist with crushing force. You don't understand what an honor this is, he whispered, his breath hot against my face. Most people, they just disappear. But you get to join, to become one of them. I wrenched away and ran, darting between the massive boilers, Ray's footsteps thundering behind me. I burst through an emergency exit, setting off alarms that wailed through the basement corridors. The sound spurred me faster, up the stairs, my lungs burning. I reached the lobby, gasping for breath, and sprinted for the main entrance. Behind me, the elevator pinged. I turned to see elevator 2's doors slide open, empty. But as I watched, a dark smudge seemed to separate from the shadows in the back corner, flowing out into the lobby like smoke given weight. I ran. The police found me 2 blocks away, huddled in the doorway of a closed convenience store. I gave my statement, told them everything. They searched the building the next day, finding the makeshift living space, the newspaper clippings, even the shoebox of trophies. But there was no sign of Ray. He had vanished along with the elevator's mysterious passenger. The official report listed Ray as the prime suspect in 11 disappearances, over the past 3 decades. The prevailing theory was that he had an accomplice who helped him dispose of the bodies. Someone who used the elevator at 3:00 a.m. to avoid the security system. I quit the security job, of course. Found something new across town, but I still check my rearview mirror more often than necessary. I still avoid elevators when I can, and sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I feel a familiar chill on the back of my neck, as if someone is standing just behind me, breathing softly, waiting for me to turn around. The thing about darkness is that once you've stared into it, it never stops staring back. I know this because every night at exactly 3:00 a.m., I wake to find my apartment door wide open, though I always lock it before bed. And every night, I hear the distinct ping of an elevator arriving. Though I live in a building without one, they're still watching, still waiting. And one day, I fear I'll join that dark figure in the corner of elevator 2, descending endlessly to what lies beneath Whitmore Plaza. Okay, pull up a chair. Dim the lights if you can. This isn't a campfire ghost story. This is, well, it happened. To me. And I'm telling you because keeping it inside feels like trying to hold smoke in your fist. It just chokes you. My life was beige, you know? Like a filing cabinet. Office job, same desk, same coffee mug, same pointless meetings about synergy and metrics. My biggest daily challenge was usually trying not to fall asleep after lunch. Except for Arthur. Arthur sat 2 desks over. Quiet guy. Kept to himself. Ate the same tuna sandwich every single day. But the one thing everyone noticed about Arthur was that drawer, the bottom right one on his filing cabinet. Every single night, before he put on his worn tweed coat and nodded his silent goodbye, he'd make sure that drawer was locked. Click. Every single night. Like clockwork. Nobody thought much of it. Maybe he had sensitive files. Maybe it was just a weird habit. We all have them, right? Mine was double-checking the coffee pot was off. Arthur's was the locked drawer. It was just part of the office furniture, another quirky detail in the mundane landscape. Then came the Tuesday that wasn't beige. I was the last one out that night. Standard stuff. Finished a report, shut down the computer, did my coffee pot check. The office was that kind of quiet that feels too loud. The hum of the servers down the hall. The distant traffic drone from the street 7 floors below. As I passed Arthur's desk, heading for the elevator, I saw it. The bottom right drawer, slightly ajar, unlocked. Click, click, dig. The elevator descending, 7 floors below. My first thought was just a flicker of surprise. Huh? Arthur forgot. That's weird. Then a tiny, almost imperceptible nudge of curiosity. What was so important he locked it every night? Probably nothing. Just his spare change or embarrassing snacks. I kept walking towards the elevator bank, but the image of that open drawer snagged in my mind. It felt wrong. Like seeing a familiar face with a feature subtly altered, leaving you unsettled. I paused by the entrance, my hand hovering over the elevator call button. The silence of the office pressed in. The air suddenly felt cooler. I looked back at his desk. The open drawer was a dark mouth in the dim light filtering through the blinds. Okay, admit it. You'd look too, right? Just to peek, to satisfy the little itch of curiosity, to put the world back in order, knowing it was just boring office stuff inside. My footsteps felt unnaturally loud as I walked back to his desk. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, a low, sickly buzz. I reached his filing cabinet. The metal felt cool under my fingertips. I hesitated for maybe 3 seconds. My heart gave a tiny, nervous flutter. This felt transgressive. I knelt down, pulled the drawer open a few more inches. The inside was neat. Too neat. Too neat. A few standard office supplies in a tray. Pens, paper clips. Nothing interesting. Disappointing, actually. I was about to close it. Then I saw it, tucked under a stack of blank notepads at the back. A small, spiral-bound notebook. Plain cover. The kind you'd find at any drugstore. It seemed out of place with the meticulous order of everything else. Click. The server room sounded like distant machinery grinding bone. That curiosity, which had been a gentle nudge, became a hard shove. My fingers trembled slightly as I reached for the notebook. It wasn't heavy. Felt Ordinary. I pulled it out. My eyes scanned the first open page. It was a list. Dates, neatly written in black ink. Each date was followed by 2 words. Next one. January 14th. Next one. April 3rd. Next one. June 22nd. Next one. My breath hitched. What the hell was this? A project deadline list? A weird personal diary? The dates weren't in chronological order. They jumped around the calendar. I flipped through the pages. More dates. More next one. Page after page. A chilling uniformity to it. No other notes. No names. Just dates and those 2 words. Then I saw the last entry, written at the very bottom of the last page, with space left below it. Today's date, and next to it. Next one. My blood ran cold. It wasn't a slow chill. It was a sudden plunge into icy water. The office quiet twisted into something menacing. Every shadow deepened. The hum of the lights felt like a threat. My heart was hammering against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. Today. The last date was today. What did next one mean? Combined with a list of dates. In a locked drawer, belonging to a man who ate the same sandwich every day and never forgot to lock his drawer. My mind started spinning in terrifying directions. My beige world was shattering, revealing something black and ugly underneath. I fumbled for my phone. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold it. I needed to call someone. The police. What would I even say? My colleague has a weird list of dates in his drawer. They'd think I was crazy. A floorboard creaked down the hall. I froze, list still in my hand. My eyes darted towards the sound. Nothing. Just the old building settling. Or was it? Every nerve-ending screamed danger. I shoved the notebook back into the drawer, not caring about the neatness anymore. Closed it gently. My mind was racing. What do I do? Get out. Stay. Wait for Arthur. The thought of seeing him now, knowing what might be behind his quiet eyes, was terrifying. I crept back towards the entrance, staying low, peeking around cubicle corners. The main office area was empty, bathed in the weak artificial light. The elevator bank remained silent. Creak. Thump. Down the hall again, closer this time. Or just my imagination. My breath hitched. It sounded like footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from the direction of the stairs. Panic surged. He was back. Arthur was back, and his drawer was open. Did he realize? Was he coming for the list? Or was he coming for something else? Something related to next one and today's date? I scrambled, not towards the elevator, that was too open, towards the back of the office, towards the unused conference room. It had a lock. A small, flimsy lock, but a lock. I ducked behind a row of filing cabinets, my back pressed against the cold metal. List. Next one. Today. The words echoed in my head. A frantic, broken rhythm. Footsteps. Definitely footsteps now. Not loud. Almost muffled. Cautious. He was here. I crawled on my hands and knees towards the conference room door. The carpet fibers rough against my palms. The office seemed huge, vast, and utterly exposed. Every shadow seemed to lengthen and writhe. The distant hum of the servers felt like a predator purring. I reached the conference room door, fumbled with the handle. It turned. I slipped inside and quietly closed the door behind me. My fingers shaking, I flipped the small metal lock. Click! It felt laughably inadequate. The conference room was dark, just a sliver of light under the door from the main office. I pressed my ear against the cool wood, trying to listen over the frantic pounding of my own heart. Silence again. Heavy, oppressive silence. Was he still out there? Was he listening? Did he hear me? Minutes stretched into an eternity. My muscles were screaming from tension. Every tiny sound made me jump. The settling of the building. My own ragged breathing. The distant traffic. Then, a sound right outside the door. Not footsteps this time. A pause. Then, a soft, deliberate scrape. Like metal against wood. He was trying the handle. Testing it. My blood ran like ice water. He knew I was in here. The scrape came again. Then a gentle push against the door. It didn't budge thanks to the flimsy lock. A low voice, barely a whisper, filtered through the wood. Arthur's voice. It wasn't angry. It was calm. Utterly, chillingly calm. "You shouldn't have looked." My breath hitched again. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to scream, but terror had locked my throat. "It wasn't for you." His voice was closer now, right against the door. I could almost feel his presence on the other side. The dates. They're important. Necessary. 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 My mind flashed back to the list. Date. Next one. Today. He knew I had seen the list. Did he know I knew about today? "It's a process," he murmured, almost conversationally. "A pattern. Can't break the pattern." Scrape. Push. The door groaned faintly against the lock. "It takes preparation." What preparation? What was he talking about? The next one wasn't just a victim. It was part of a process. A pattern. A ritual. I huddled in the darkness, tears streaming down my face. The man who ate tuna sandwiches and locked his drawer was a monster, and I had stumbled into his horrifying world. The scraping stopped. The pushing stopped. Silence returned, but it was a different kind of silence now. It felt like a predator waiting, listening. I waited, huddled in the dark conference room. Minutes, maybe an hour. I didn't move, didn't dare make a sound. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket, probably a late-night work email. I ignored it. The outside world felt impossibly far away. Then I heard it, not from the hallway, from inside the conference room. A faint sound, a soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap. It seemed to be coming from above me. I slowly, painstakingly, tilted my head back, my eyes adjusting to the dark, scanned the ceiling. The conference room had acoustic tile ceiling panels. Tap, tap. It was coming from above one of the panels. Light, almost delicate tapping. Was he in the ceiling? Had he found another way in? My blood ran cold again. A deeper, more absolute cold this time. This wasn't just about the list. This was something else. Something planned. Something terrifyingly intimate. Tap, tap, tap. It moved slightly. Across the ceiling, towards the center of the room. My eyes were wide, fixed on the ceiling panels, waiting for a panel to shift, for something to drop through. The tapping stopped directly over the large conference table in the middle of the room. Silence. Absolute, chilling silence from above. Then, a faint, almost inaudible creak. One of the ceiling panels directly above the table began to slowly, silently lift upwards. Just an inch at first. Then two. Darkness in the gap. Absolute blackness. And then, something moved in the dark space. A shape. My scream was trapped in my chest. My lungs burned. My muscles locked up. It was the shape of a hand. It slowly, deliberately, reached down through the gap in the ceiling. White, bone-like fingers emerging from the darkness. It wasn't Arthur's hand. Not from what I could see. It was too pale, too thin. Tap, tap, tap. From a different spot now, near the door. There was more than one. The hand from the ceiling hung suspended above the table. Fingers twitching slightly. Waiting. I scrambled backwards, away from the table, away from the hand, towards the far wall. My back hit the cold plaster. There was nowhere to go. The tap, tap, near the door stopped. Another silence. Then from just outside the conference room door came Arthur's calm voice again. "It's time for the next one." A faint metallic click, louder than the flimsy lock on the conference room door. The sound of a different lock, a more substantial lock, coming from the main entrance to the office. Click. He wasn't trying to get into the conference room anymore. He had just locked us in the office. With him. And whatever was waiting in the ceiling. My eyes were fixed on the hand dangling from the dark gap above the table. It flexed its fingers, slowly, patiently, and the soft, rhythmic tapping began again. All around the room now. From the ceiling, from the walls. A terrifying symphony of soft taps closing in. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down my face, and waited for the tapping to find me. The beige world was gone forever, replaced by tapping, darkness, and the knowledge that some patterns, once started, must be finished. Tap, tap. Closer now. So close. Have you ever worked at a 24/7 co-working space? They sell you the dream, right? Flexibility, community, that buzz of being around other people hustling, even if you're all just staring at screens. For a freelance designer like me, bouncing from coffee shops was old news. This place, the Hub, felt like a step up. Secure keycard entry, decent coffee, reliable Wi-Fi. I paid extra for a dedicated desk. Thought of it as my little corner of the world. It wasn't home, but it was mine. Or so I thought. My hours are kind of messed up. I do a lot of late nights, sometimes pulling all-nighters before a deadline. The Hub is perfect for that. After 9 or 10 p.m. it empties out. Just a few dedicated souls. Spread thin across the 100 or so desks, it gets quiet. That low hum of electronics. The distant city sounds outside the big plate glass windows. Peaceful, usually. The first time it happened, I barely registered it. Must have been a Tuesday night, around 1 a.m. I went to the little kitchenette to refill my water bottle. Gone maybe 90 seconds. Came back to my desk, sat down, and there it was. A small square of paper, folded, sitting dead center on my keyboard. My heart gave a little jump. Had I left it there? No, definitely not. I unfolded it, handwritten, neat, but a little cramped. Late night. That was it, just 2 words. Late night. It felt odd, not threatening. Not exactly, just weird. Like someone had been standing right there, watching me walk away, and left it the second my back was turned. I looked around, empty desks stretching into the dim light. The faint green glow of the exit signs. Nobody. Maybe it was one of the night owls messing around, trying to be friendly in a quirky way. I crumpled it up, tossed it in the trash under my desk, and tried to shake it off. Just weird. Click. Boom. The fluorescent lights overhead seemed a little too bright now. A couple nights later, same deal. Went to the bathroom down the hall. 2 minutes tops, came back. Another note. Same small paper square, same cramped writing. Seen you working hard. Okay, that felt different. Less like a quirky greeting, more like an observation. A personal observation? My skin prickled. I looked around again. The usual suspects were here. The guy with the headphones perpetually glued on. The woman who typed like a machine gun. Both engrossed in their own screens, across the room. Could one of them be doing this? Why? I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. This wasn't friendly. This felt watched. The next time I decided to be smarter. I needed coffee. Instead of just getting up, I casually looked around first. Took a mental snapshot of who was where. Not many people tonight. Headphone guy, typing woman, and a newcomer I hadn't seen before. Slumped low in a chair in the far corner, face hidden by the brim of a baseball cap. I walked to the kitchenette, keeping an eye on the room from the doorway as I filled the coffee maker. Nobody moved. Headphone guy was still rocking slightly. Typing woman's fingers were a blur. The guy in the corner hadn't stirred. I poured my coffee, added milk, took my time, walked back to my desk. Another note, waiting for me. Nice shirt. It was a simple black t-shirt, nothing remarkable. That's what made it creepy. This person wasn't just noting I was here. They were looking at me, taking me in. My hands were shaking as I picked up the note. This wasn't a prank. This was surveillance. Personal, unsettling surveillance. The co-working space suddenly felt less like a haven, and more like a glass box I was trapped inside. That night, I finally checked the security cameras. The Hub boasts 24/7 surveillance, cameras everywhere. I found the monitor feed tucked away near the entrance, usually ignored. Scrolling through the feeds, my heart sinking with each click. There were cameras covering most areas. The entrance, the main desk area from 2 angles, the hallway, but there were gaps, blind spots. One camera's view was mostly blocked by a support pillar. Another seemed to angle away from a whole row of desks, and right around my desk, there was a noticeable blind spot. The camera positioned to cover that section was angled slightly away, capturing the desks next to mine, but leaving a clear zone right where I sat. A perfect unmonitored pocket. My mouth felt dry. This wasn't a coincidence. The notes, the timing, the blind spot. Someone knew. Someone was using this space, using its layout, to watch me. To get close without being seen. Click. The camera monitor flickered, showing empty hallways. The notes kept coming. Left when I went to the printer. When I took a quick call outside. When I stepped out for 5 minutes of fresh air. Always on my keyboard. Always in that same neat, cramped hand. I watch you work. You look tired. Don't stay too late. It's not safe. That last one scared me the most. A warning? Or a threat? Was he the danger? I started looking at everyone differently. Headphone guy silently bobbing his head. Typing woman, relentless. The quiet ones, the ones who came and went without a fuss. Any one of them could be him. Anyone could be watching, waiting for me to turn my back. I tried talking to the front desk guy about the notes. He was young, seemed bored. Shrugged. Probably just one of the regulars messing around. People get weird working alone all night. I mentioned the camera blind spots. He just blinked. Yeah, building's old. Not perfect coverage. No help. Just shrugged it off. Made me feel like I was overreacting. Crazy. But the pit in my stomach didn't lie. And neither did the notes that kept appearing. Bad things happen to curious people. This one came after I spent too long looking at the camera feeds again. He knew. He knew I was trying to figure it out. He knew I was trying to figure it out. Sleep became impossible. Every shadow in my apartment felt like a hiding place. Every creak of the floorboard sounded like footsteps. But the worst was being at the hub. The place that was supposed to be my productive sanctuary now felt like a hunting ground. I'd jump at sudden noises, feel eyes on me constantly. I started taking circuitous routes to the bathroom, peering around corners. My work suffered. My nerves were shot. I had to do something. I couldn't go to the police with a handful of weird notes and a hunch about camera angles. I needed proof. I decided to stay extra late. Pull a real all-nighter, even without a deadline. Even without a deadline. Not for work, but to wait. To watch back. It was 3 a.m. Just me and headphone guy left. He was asleep at his desk, head resting on his crossed arms. I was trying to look busy, scrolling through emails, but my attention was on the room. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. My hands were clammy. Every nerve was screaming alert. The air felt thick. Charged. I didn't hear anything specific, but the silence felt wrong. Heavy. Like something was holding its breath. I needed a distraction. A reason to turn away from my desk. I decided to pretend to take a phone call. I stood up, stretching, and walked slowly towards the windows, pulling out my phone. I didn't actually dial anyone. Just held it to my ear, mumbling nonsense. I walked towards a large support pillar, positioning myself so my desk was out of my direct line of sight, but I could still see the general area in my periphery. I focused on my reflection in the dark window, watching my own anxious eyes. 2 minutes. Maybe 3. Yeah. Okay, I'll send that over tomorrow morning. I mumbled into the dead phone, my voice tight. I slowly turned back towards my desk. There it was. A fresh note, sitting on my keyboard, just like all the others. Placed in seconds, silently, impossibly. But this time I saw something else, reflected faintly in the dark screen of my turned-off monitor. A shape behind me, moving away, towards the blind spot by the pillar camera. My breath hitched. He was still here. He had been right behind me. I spun around. Empty. The area behind my desk near the blind spot was empty. He was gone. Vanished. But I'd seen the reflection. A figure. Dark clothes, moving low. My eyes darted towards the corner, towards the pillar where the camera couldn't see. There was a small, narrow gap between the pillar and a wall. Then I saw it. Just a flash, a dark sleeve, disappearing into the gap. He wasn't gone. He was hiding. And I knew, with absolute certainty, he wasn't headphone guy slumped asleep. Every muscle in my body screamed, run. Get out. Call 911 from the street. But my feet were rooted to the floor. My eyes were fixed on that narrow gap. The silence returned. But it was the worst silence yet. The silence of a trap being sprung. I heard a faint sound, a soft, deliberate scrape from behind the pillar. He was still there, waiting. And I knew, instantly, what the motive was. Why the notes, the watching, the blind spot. It wasn't about friendship. It wasn't about a prank. It wasn't even just about watching. It was about the space, the empty, quiet, late-night space, where you could be alone, where you could do things unseen. He wasn't just a stalker. He was a predator. And this place, my chosen heaven, was his hunting ground. A note slipped from the gap behind the pillar, floated softly to the floor. Same small paper square, same cramped writing. I didn't need to read it. I already knew what it would say. You found me. My eyes snapped to the entrance. The keycard reader. My only way out. It felt miles away. Another soft scrape from behind the pillar. Closer this time, followed by the faintest sound of fabric rustling. He was coming out. I needed to run. Scream. Something. A shadow detached itself from the darkness behind the pillar, low to the ground, moving with unnerving stillness. I didn't see his face clearly in the dim light, just the outline, the dark clothes, and then a new sound filled the terrifying silence of the co-working space. Not tapping, not scraping, a low, soft chuckle, coming from the shadow, amused, patient, knowing I was trapped. The blinds on the windows looked like prison bars. The humming electronics sounded like a low growl. My sanctuary had become my cage, and he was the one with the key and the blind spots. The shadow started to rise. Slowly, deliberately, blocking out the little light behind it. I didn't stay to see the face. I turned and ran, blindly, towards the distant green glow of the exit sign. Not sure if I'd make it. Not sure if escape was even possible in a space designed for productivity, but perfect for disappearing. The chuckle echoed behind me, swallowed by the empty rows of desks and the ever-present hum of the machines. I ran, and I never looked back. But I know he is still there, watching, waiting, in the blind spots, in the quiet hours, and sometimes, late at night, I still feel like he's seen me working hard. Well, dust swirled in the dawn light, coating my boots as I trudged across the construction site. The skeleton of the West Wing loomed ahead, rebar claws jutting from half-poured concrete. Jake's hard hat still lay where it fell, cracked like an eggshell, the safety first sticker curling in the dirt. The coroner's report sat heavy in my pocket. Blunt force trauma incident. A clean word for a 40-foot drop onto steel spikes. 2 days ago, Jake had grabbed my arm by the porta-potties, his cigarette trembling. The supports are too thin, Dan. Half the code, and the concrete's mixed with beach sand. This place will collapse in a year. He was meeting an OSHA rep tomorrow. He never made it. My phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. Through the kitchen window, Lena's silhouette blurred, her hands on the dish rack. Another photo loaded. Our daughter's swing set, empty chains twisting in the wind. The number was all zeros. A text followed. Accidents happen. Forget the West Wing. My thumb hovered over the delete button. Prank, I told myself. Kids. But when I keyed into the site at sunrise, fresh cement bags sat stacked by the crane. The delivery lot was blank. Foreman Riggs stood by the foundation trench, chewing his cigar to pulp. Jake was reckless, he said, eyes flat, leaned too far. His boot nudged a loose bolt into the dirt, where it vanished. You see nothing, say nothing. Got a kid coming, right? Lena was 7 months along. We'd picked Emma for a girl. The compactor roared behind me, shaking the ground. Riggs' smile was a razor, cold and sharp. That night, Lena found the doll on our porch, burlap skin stuffed with gravel, its mouth sewn shut with X-shaped stitches. A note was pinned to it. Congrats, Daddy. Her hands shook as she handed it to me. I buried it deep in the woods behind our house, my shovel striking something solid, a rusted lunchbox. Inside, Jake's OSHA paperwork, pages warped by rain, and a keycard labeled Insight Vault. My pulse hammered. The doll's stitches flashed in my mind, each one a warning. Midnight, the site was a maze of shadows, the air thick with diesel and damp earth. The vault door hissed open, exhaling cold that smelled of iron and rot. My flashlight caught blueprints pinned to the wall. The West Wing wasn't on them. A monitor flickered in the corner, security feed cycling. I rewound the footage, breath catching. Riggs and two men in suits dragged Jake to the crane. Jake thrashed, his boots scraping concrete. The cable snapped, and he fell. A silent scream frozen on the screen. My phone buzzed. A video loaded. Lena asleep, her pregnant belly curved under the sheets, moonlight slicing the blinds. Text. Last warning. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. The vault's air grew heavier. The iron smelled sharper. A faint scrape echoed behind me, like a boot on gravel. I spun, flashlight beam slicing the dark. But nothing was there. Just the blueprints, fluttering in a draft that shouldn't exist. They were waiting in the parking trailer at dawn. Riggs leaned against a desk, cigar smoke curling. The suit I recognized from the developer's office adjusted his tie, his smile too polished. A woman stood beside him, her hands gloved, a scalpel tapping a water bottle with a soft on-tink-tink. Jake picked a fight with physics, the suit said. You're smarter, Dan. We're building communities. Delays don't help. Riggs tossed me a check. 6 zeros, enough to choke on. For Emma's college fund, he said, voice low. The trailer door locked with a heavy click. I stuffed the check in my pocket, the paper burning against my skin. Then the smell hit, acrid, chemical. Smoke seeped through the vents, curling like fingers. The air grew hot, stinging my lungs. I grabbed a fire extinguisher and smashed the window, glass shredding my palms. I crawled out, blood dripping into the dirt, and collapsed as the trailer erupted in flames. Riggs watched from his truck, cigar glowing like a demon's eye. Severance wailed. Too far off. The fire was ruled faulty wiring. The check cleared. Lena painted the nursery yellow, humming to Emma as she worked. But I couldn't shake the vault, the video, the doll. I hid the blueprints under our floorboards, their edges curling like secrets. At my new site job, the West Wing was gone, erased from plans. But last night the monitor glitched. Camera 12, labeled West Wing, showed Jake, his body swinging from the crane. Neck twisted at a wrong angle, his eyes locked on the lens, mouth moving. Your turn. Lena sent a sonogram. The fetus spine is curved wrong. A jagged line on the grainy image. The doctor blamed stress. But I saw the doll in my mind. Its stitches ripped open. It was back on the porch when I got home, gravel spilling from its torn mouth. The note was new. Emma says hello. I sit in the dark now, the blueprints spread before me. The concrete setting at the new site, locking in its flaws. Outside, the swing set creaks, chains rattling in the wind. My phone buzzes, the screen glowing with zeros. A photo loads. The West Wing. Half-built, rebar glinting under moonlight. Jake stands in the foreground, his hard hat cracked, staring straight at me. The neon sign outside the Pennyview Motel buzzed, its pink glow flickering against the drizzle-soaked parking lot. I leaned on the front desk, the clock ticking past 2 a.m., my thermos of coffee gone cold. Night shifts in this nowhere town off I-90 were quiet. Truckers, drifters, the occasional family too cheap for a holiday inn. I've been here 3 years, saving for a community college degree. My dog-eared sci-fi paperback, the only thing keeping me awake. The lobby smelled of stale popcorn and lemon cleaner. The hum of the vending machine, a constant drone. A man stepped through the glass doors, rain dripping from his gray overcoat. No luggage, just a small metal box tucked under his arm, its surface scratched and dented. A padlock glinting under the fluorescence. He was mid-50s, face gaunt, eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in days. His smile was tight, more grimace than greeting. Room for one, he said, voice low, sliding a crumpled 100 across the counter. Name? I asked, typing into the ancient computer. John Smith. His fingers tapped the box, a faint clinking like coins shifting inside. I handed him the key to room 204, his gaze lingering on me too long before he shuffled toward the stairs. The box lock rattled as he climbed, a sharp, uneven sound that echoed in the empty lobby. Morning came, gray and damp. Mr. Smith didn't show for the continental breakfast. Nobody touched the stale bagels anyway. I rang his room at checkout time. No answer. My manager, Carla, a chain-smoking mom of 3 who knitted during her breaks. sighed. Go check, Ellie. Probably skipped out. Room 204's door creaked open. The air inside cold and heavy, like a freezer left ajar. The bed was untouched. Sheets crisp. No clothes, no toiletries. Just the faint smell of rust and something sour. The metal box sat on the nightstand, its padlock gleaming. I reached for it, then stopped. A soft grape came from the bathroom, like a shoe dragging on tile. My pulse spiked. Mr. Smith, I called, voice thin. Silence answered, but the shower curtain twitched, a shadow flickering behind it. I backed out, heart hammering, and told Carla. She rolled her eyes, muttering about tweakers, but her fingers trembled as she dialed maintenance. Joe, our handyman who fixed everything with duct tape and curses, met us upstairs. He pushed the bathroom door open, wrench in hand. Empty. The shower curtain hung still, but a smear of something dark streaked the sink, too thick for rust. Joe swore under his breath, pointing to the vent above the mirror. It was loose, screws missing, big enough for a person to crawl through. That night, I couldn't shake the room's chill. The lobby felt smaller, the vending machines hummed now a low growl. At 3 a.m. the security monitor flickered, showing room 204's door ajar. I froze. I'd locked it myself. The camera cut to static, then cleared. Mr. Smith stood in the hall, staring at the lens, his box clutched tight. The timestamp read 2:47 a.m., 10 minutes ago. My hands shook as I grabbed the phone, but the line was dead, just a faint crackle like someone breathing. Carla stayed late, her knitting needles clicking furiously. You're jumping at shadows, Ellie, she said. But her eyes darted to the parking lot, where a single car idled, headlights off. Joe checked the cameras, his face pale. Systems looped. Keep showing the same hour. Systems looped. Keep showing the same hour. He rewound the footage and there it was. Mr. Smith entering 204 at 2 a.m. Then nothing. No exit, no movement. Just the box on the nightstand, its lock glinting like an eye. At 4 a.m., a guest in 202 called the desk, voice shaking. Call the desk, voice shaking. Someone's in my ceiling, scratching like claws. I grabbed Joe, and we climbed to the second floor, the hallway dim, bulbs flickering. The air smelled of rust again, sharper now. Above 202, the ceiling groaned, dust sifting down. Joe pried open an access panel, his flashlight catching a glint of metal. The box, wedged in the crawl space. A low moan echoed, human but wrong, like air forced through a broken pipe. Joe dropped the panel, cursing, and we ran, the moan chasing us down the stairs. Carla wasn't at the desk. Her knitting lay tangled on the floor, needles bent. The security monitor showed her walking into 204, her face blank, like she was sleepwalking. The timestamp was 5 minutes ago. My stomach twisted. Joe grabbed a crowbar, and we sprinted upstairs, the motel's walls closing in, the rust smell choking. Room 204 was empty again, but the box was open, its lid yawning. Inside, Polaroids, dozens of them, faces frozen in terror, mouths taped shut. One showed Carla, her eyes wide, taken hours ago. Wide, taken hours ago. A notebook lay beside it, pages filled with names, dates, and addresses, mine included, circled in red. The moan came again, from the vent, louder, closer. Joe swung the crowbar at the wall, exposing the crawl space. A hand reached out, pale and claw-like, nails crusted with blood. I screamed, stumbling back, as Joe slammed the crowbar down, the hand retreating with a wet crunch. We found Carla in the basement, curled in a corner, shivering, her wrists raw from duct tape. She wouldn't speak, just pointed to the box, now back on the nightstand, locked tight. Police came, took the Polaroids, the notebook, everything. They said Mr. Smith didn't exist. No ID, no prints, just a ghost in the system. The crawl space led to a network of tunnels under the motel, old and unmapped, walls scratched with tally marks. They found blood, but no bodies. I quit the next day, moved to Albany, got a job at a diner. But the box haunts me. Last week a customer left a tip. A key, small and rusted, like it fit a padlock. My new apartment smells of rustsome nights, and the ceiling creaks, A slow, deliberate scrape. Yesterday, my mail included a Polaroid. Me, asleep, my face half lit by moonlight. The back read, "Check in soon. I don't sleep anymore. I keep a knife under my pillow, but it won't help. The motel's still open, the neon sign buzzing, and somewhere, Mr. Smith is waiting. His box rattling, ready for the next guest."